4, 3, 2, 1. Fight well, heroes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Yablos, and welcome to my first impressions of Heroes of the Storm. The game is, of course, in technical alpha at the moment, so this is in no way indicative of the final product, but, you know, it's Blizzard, and they've released a fairly complete game. I'd say the only lacking part of it is the number of characters you can play, and you've still got a pretty big selection there for something that's supposed to be an alpha. So, you know, I don't see the game changing a huge amount, but, you know, you never know. They might find something breaking in it and change it. So bear in mind, this is a technical alpha first impressions, and I'm certainly not deep in the game. So far, I've played 3 player versus player games. I've done the tutorial, which is, you know, certainly recommended. It's a good tutorial. And they get you to play a game against the AI before you can unlock cooperative and versus modes. I should point out that, you know, this is a game that's been billed around the internet as the MOBA for people who hate MOBAs. And so far I've read a lot of reviews by people who play MOBAs and not many by people who don't. So, you know, I'm someone who doesn't. I'm someone who finds, you know, MOBAs toxic. I find them time intensive to learn, and you know, I don't have that time and I don't have that interest, frankly, to learn them. So, you know, this is supposed to be a game for me, and you know, we'll have a look at that. We'll see if it is. We'll see if it is a game that I want to play, and if it's a game that, you know, is going to hold my interest and you know, build a community around it. So, obviously, the thing that stops me playing MOBAs is a bunch of, you know, barrier of entry requirements, and the first and foremost amongst those is the community. And frankly, I find League of Legends and the Dota community to be so toxic that they even pip the Call of Duty crowd for being complete pricks. I don't like it. I hate the fact that when I log in and, you know, it's my first couple of games, I'm automatically placed in teams where people are angry about how I play, and I don't feel like I have any outcome on the battle. I'm either placed in a team with people who know what they're doing and they win, and they would win without me. Like, I could stand in the corner and it'd still win. Or I'm placed on a team where we don't win, and, you know, it's painfully obvious who the person not pulling their weight is, and you get absolutely railed for it. You don't get any suggestions on how to play, and you don't get any help. You just get told you're a noob and you suck. So what's the community like in this at the moment? It's good. It's actually fairly open. I mean, you can get groups easily, and once you're in the game, nobody really talks too much. I mean, if you get an experienced MOBA player in there, they'll tell you what to do, but nobody's ripping anybody for being bad, which is, you know, a good thing. But then I keep coming back to the fact we're in a technical alpha, and, you know, everybody wants a game, so nobody really wants to piss anybody off, and, you know, it's new for everybody, so I can't really comment on where the community's going. What I can do is look at what Blizzard's doing to shape the community, and how I think it's going to develop. Blizzard have specifically stated they want to get away from that toxic sort of MOBA community. In fact, they're even not using the word MOBA, they're using the word Hero Brawler. I don't think that's going to stick. I think people are still going to call it a MOBA. But they've made a number of changes to the game from traditional MOBAs to try and channel that, I guess. You know, the first and most obvious is if you're watching, you know, any of these games, you can see it on the screen now. The numbers at the top represent the levels of the overall teams. There's no individual leveling in this, and that, you know, automatically for me is a great thing. I feel like I'm not being left behind by my team or even the opposition team. It means snowballing by the other team is harder to do, unless they're, you know, dominating all of us. I mean, it's still possible to feed the other team, but again, you can sort of get some of that back. It also means last hitting's gone. The old last hitting. This was one of the hugest barriers for entry for me into League of Legends when I tried to play. You just have these people who are good at it, and it's hard to learn, and it's not something I was willing to put the time or effort in, especially when, while you're learning, you're being abused for not being able to do it. They also removed gold, and items. So since there's no last hitting, there's no gold or items, as you know, because you don't need to get those things, and it means that you can stay in the battle longer. I don't think in this entire game you'll see me go back to base once, and for me that's fantastic. I get to stay in the action, I get to hit people, I get to have a lot of fun. Rather than, you know, like in League of Legends, I'd be hovering over item text and trying to work out what they do, and that's before you even take into account the fact that you combine items into other things, and that's a mess for me. I don't know what I'm doing there, and you have to go read a wiki on it, and again, there's not that level of interest for me in these games to even bother doing that. You know, if we're playing World of Warcraft or StarCraft or something where I do have that level of interest, yeah, sure, I will definitely go into that, but for these games, you know, I sort of just want to log on and play, and that's all I'm interested in doing. So I've already sort of spoken about, you know, last hitting and items gold have been removed, so they sort of stripped those elements away, which is really great. It's one of the things I hate about MOBAs, but they've also added a whole bunch of stuff as well. I mean, there's an obviously you need to replace the items with something, and what they've done is replaced it with skill progression, so you actually get a choice every time you have to choose a talent, which is, I think, a great addition. I think it allows you to play the one character, which obviously, you know, the more casual players like myself are going to want to do, because, you know, you want to learn a character, but you don't have time to learn them all. But it varies up the game a bit, and it lets you change your style depending on what's going on, depending on what you're facing, without, you know, just gimping your team because, yeah, you've got a poor composition against the composition you're facing. I don't know how regular MOBA players are going to feel about that. I mean, it means your characters are more general. It also is a point where newbies can stuff up a bit more. But comparing it to the items, I think you can screw up the items a lot more than you can this. I mean, the choose the talent pops up obviously in the screen. You don't have to go back to base to do it. You don't need gold to do it. It's, you know, it's all there. So it's not like you're just going to forget or not do it, or you're going to buy a whole bunch of shit gear. So you're going to buy something that's appropriate for the level, and you're going to get a choice about it. So no matter what happens, you're going to get something good. The second thing they've added to the game is gates. Gates, I'm personally not so sure about. One of the great things when I do watch the League of Legends and Dota professional games, which I do enjoy, is the sniping of characters and the sort of back and forth of combat as they dart in and out and try and get hits off without the opposition getting hits off, and then that final push when the team thinks they've got a hero and they all jump in and stun and kill them. I mean, this game has to some extent got that, but to some extent it's also removed it by putting these gates in. Once you're through the gate, the enemy heroes can't follow. From a casual perspective, it gives me more survivability, but I mean, sniping is an integral part of MOBAs. I mean, you've got assassin characters in this, and you've got assassin characters in other MOBAs as well, and their primary job is to snipe off other enemy heroes and give your team an advantage for 30 seconds or a minute. And I think the game has lost something there. It's become very much about lane pushing and applying pressure, and I think that's actually going to cause me to lose interest quicker. Pushing a lane, it's like my first RTS. It's, you know, and that's where I come from, and that's where, you know, a lot of the people who don't want to play MOBAs are going to come from. I mean, this is obviously built in the StarCraft engine. I've got a lot of familiarity with that engine, and I find it quite comfortable, but it does feel like my first StarCraft at some point with the gates in the way, and that's a problem because, you know, there's plenty of arcade games out there which, you know, do the exact same thing. They apply lane-based pressure. This is just a complex version of that. So, you know, am I going to switch out of StarCraft when I'm a bit bored and go to this, or am I just going to load up the arcade and play something that, you know, is simpler and nobody's really good at it and everybody's kind of okay with you being bad? So the gates, you know, that's something they could probably lose, in my opinion. I think at a professional level, if this game ever gets that far, I think you're going to see a lot of gates be the first thing to go. They're weak and they prevent sniping, so I think, you know, the first pushes will be to get rid of the gates. I think that's just going to be a fact of life at that level, just so you can snipe those enemy players. I think one of the biggest differences for me, so I've talked about gates reducing my interest. One thing that increases my interest for playing this game is the interactive maps. The League of Legends games I've seen and played, and certainly the Dota games, I'm sure if there are different maps, that they're subtly different, and the players who know how to play them would know why and how. But for me, every game sort of plays the same, and every game at some point has some sort of snowball out of control effect. This game has mechanics on the map, and as you'll see in this game, our team's doing quite well, but then the other team manages to get a dragon off, and suddenly they're back in the game, and I think that's great. I think that you can have mechanics to get your team back in the game, and I think if you have that more interactive team-based part of the map, then, you know, it certainly holds my interest, especially when different maps do different things. The map you're seeing at the moment, you've got to control the shrine at the north and the shrine at the south, and while controlling those, one player can become a dragon, you know, a combat monster, basically, for a minute and a half or until it's dead. And it provides a really dynamic where it forces the team to split, and you've got some real skill-based player-on-player action, which I really enjoyed. Another map you collect doubloons. That was one of my lesser enjoyable maps. I didn't enjoy that one as much, but you know, it's a different mechanic, and I've heard that there's another one which I haven't played yet, where you get doubloons. Yeah, and there's even another one where you curse the opposition, and it lets the team sort of get that back and forth. I've found so far in this game that all of my games have had a bit of back and forth and been quite interesting, whereas in MOBAs I tend to watch, you can definitely have that snowball runaway effect. But certainly I can see it happening in here. It just doesn't seem to be as bad or happen as often. So that's a plus in my book, that it kept me coming back. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of like what they've added to the game is sort of tower ammo. In other games, I don't think there is tower ammo. I think you've always got those towers there. They're always shooting. They're always a retreat point. And I think they've added tower ammo and gates in together in this game, and I feel like one sort of cancels out the other. If you're continually applying pressure to the gate, eventually that gate and the towers there are going to do nothing. It's going to be like they're not there. They slowly regenerate ammo over time. It's sort of, you know, you put the gate in to stop the players running through, and then you put the ammo in so that they keep going at it. I have a feeling that this is an attempt to reduce the game length. I'm not sure how I feel that. Again, I think it might impinge on sort of that MOBA mentality. We'll see how it goes. It definitely changes the game a fair degree. I don't find it that particularly interesting. I mean, I hide behind my minions and you go up and whack it, and you do that continuously anyway. So when you say it's out of ammo, you don't need the minions anymore. It does make the minions more irrelevant. I'd have to say the minions in this game, with no last hitting and with tower ammo and things like that, they are significantly more, or at least from my perspective, significantly more irrelevant than in, say, a League of Legends or Dota game, where you know you've really got to farm them early on to try and get that leg up on the other team. The next thing for me, in terms of playing, and I don't know whether this is a plus or a minus, is your character survivability. The few games I played of League of Legends where I decided I didn't like MOBAs, I mean, you get punished for making a mistake. Your character will go down so fast, and unless you're a tank class, in which case you're not doing damage in League of Legends. In this, I mean, the damage output is fairly high, but so is the health and the ability for characters to just run away. I mean, a couple of times in this game you would have seen me run straight through 2 or 3 opposition players and be able to make it back to my gate and not worry about it. So stuns are doubly important in this game, but in terms of your survivability, you certainly feel like you're having much more of an impact on the battle because you're able to get in there and fight and fight hard, and they're certainly encouraging more straight up combat rather than the traditional dancing element of MOBA that you see in sort of League of Legends and stuff like that. I certainly enjoy that. From a person who doesn't like MOBAs, I just want to be in there belting stuff and having fun and feeling good about it. So having said all that, I think most people would say, you know, it sounds like I would play this game. I would enjoy it. I would, you know, it definitely is a MOBA for people who don't like MOBAs, but for me, it's got one fatal flaw at the moment. It's got one thing that Blizzard haven't got around, and that's the solo queuing experience. I mean, I don't play MOBAs, and therefore my friends mostly don't play MOBAs. I have a few older friends from high school, like old friends that play it, but we don't game together regularly anymore. And my current batch of game friends, they don't play these style of games. So getting a team of 5 or even a partial team of 3 together is a huge mission. And at the moment, in a technical alpha, groups are going up left, right, and center just to get a game. The solo queuing experience, it takes a while, and I can't see how they're gonna get around that. I mean, being Blizzard, they'll probably introduce a matchmaking rating before it goes live, or in the live release, and maybe they'll separate the solo queue from the team queue and give you separate ratings on either of those. Maybe that's the solution, but I mean, at the end of the day, a MOBA is a team experience, and having a team of 5 is almost necessary. Whereas I just don't need that if I'm going to go into StarCraft Arcade and just have a bash. And to be honest, I'm not likely to ever have enough friends who play MOBAs to have a team. So, you know, leveling a game at people who don't play MOBAs, it's a hard ask, because I mean that fact is irrefutable. We don't play MOBAs. I mean, it is RTS light, frankly. And so I can't see myself retaining too much interest in this game. What'll probably happen is I'll play through the alpha and enjoy it, and then I'll get on board while the community's starting up. But I have a feeling once the community gets going and the metas for the different maps are rolling, and you know, that sort of element of map knowledge and knowing the game comes into it, I have a feeling that I'll drop off, and then we're back to people who like MOBAs playing this game. Anyway, that's my initial thoughts on it. I'm sure you've noticed things, or you think I've done something or said something wrong. So feel free to leave a comment. Let's keep it factual and nice. Let's not get into that, you know, you're shit and you're a noob sort of MOBA mentality. And you know, if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe. I'd certainly love that. Cheers, guys.
Destroy the keep. The enemy is attacking your core.
I shall not return to that prison! No!
A killing blow.
Sufficient.
Your core is under attack. Keep destroyed.
They can't stop him. Let him try. Let's jam. Look out below!
Shrines awaken once more. Who will control the Dragon Knight's power?
Capture mercenaries. Already there.
The dragon shall rest no longer. Unleash its power.
Have to tell me twice. Give the horns. Ready to rock. Ready to rock. Rockin'. Let's race. Already there. Look out below! Let's go!
Your enemy has destroyed a fort.
Enemy shall fall!
The enemy is attacking your core. Keep destroying.
Face me, fool!
Attacking your core. Revel in your triumph.